Good morning. Robert Robinson here in the recap offices with Linda Osey, and we are setting up for the new resource desk training for the public housing staff. So thank you all for joining us this morning. We are excited about the new resource desk. I'm sure everyone's aware that we rolled out on Monday, so hopefully you're aware and you've at least logged in, tried to log in. Hopefully you haven't run into too many problems. Sorry that it's taken us a couple of days to get you all in the user group training, but we had to kind of create a list of priorities, and you guys were right in the middle of the pack. So we're excited to have you on. I wanted to spend a few minutes with you first talking about some general changes to the resource desk, and then we'll get into specific items for you all as public housing users. So one of the main changes is that we've worked with RECAP to kind of rebrand RAD a little bit, if you will. For those of you who have been working through RAD for a while, you know that there are two components, and typically we've been referring to them as RAD first component, RAD second component, and what RECAP has decided to try and do is rebrand that a little bit. And so now the formerly first component is RAD for PHAs, and the formerly second component is RAD for multifamily. Not such a big change for the RAD for PHAs. They're the predominant side of RAD and where most of the volume is and where most of you all are doing your work. But there also is the second side, which is now RAD for multifamily, which includes the orphan programs, Rent Sup, RAP, Mod Rehab. Soon we'll be adding 202 pracs and potentially some other multifamily programs into the RAD for multifamily side. So that's kind of one of the reasons that this kind of rebranding is happening. And we're also on the resource desk trying to weight the two equally so that all users come to kind of one collective RAD site, if you will, and then you kind of part yourself off after that. And so you see now we've got RAD for PHAs predominant on one side and RAD for multifamily predominant on the other side. We've also shifted away from any need for a public login on the resource desk and gone to a more transparent information delivery mechanism. So by that I mean there's a lot more information now on just the main public page. So I haven't logged in yet, but I want to show you some things that you can see without even logging in. So we're going to go to the document library on the RAD for PHA side. And for those of you who are long-time participants and users, you know that document library provides lots of information, guidance, etc. for various users. And so what we've done now is all of the publicly available information we've provided, and we've created these separate categories, because one of the things that we heard from users was that it was very hard to find things. I know that, I'm thinking about doing RAD. I don't want to look at a long list of documents and try and guess which one is related to that. So we've created these categories whereby if you know you're just trying to get started, what would you want to look at? And here we've got 4 items: benefits of RAD and eligibility. So somebody new to the RAD program would simply go to the document library and they would see exactly what they're looking for. So maybe they haven't created an account yet, they haven't applied, but they want to know something more. So now they can look at some of the nuances. So RAD with public housing programs, here's the mixed finance desk guide, those sorts of things. So just an easier way for folks to navigate the things that they want to see. Similarly, if you go back to the home page, similarly, RECAP provides lots of training and webinars, and so similarly we've created the same sort of consistent blockout, but now you can get directly to the webinars or the PDFs of the documents that were done in those webinars. So an easy way for you to get to trainings, and this is going to flow through, and I'll show you once we log in, this is going to flow through to individual users. They'll still see the things that they were supposed to see before, but now it's just easier for the public and for the individual users to get to what they want to see. Just to give you an example, the RAD for multifamily folks also have a document library, so when they click on that, they have something that's specifically driven for their part of the RAD program. So again, broken into different sections and seeing exactly what they want to see. Okay. Another thing that folks wanted was the ability to kind of see all of the related notices in one place. So we've added a spoke here for all of the notices that relate to RAD, and as it takes a moment to load up, all of the relevant notices for RAD are going to show up in one place. So not sure why it's taking a little longer than it normally does. That's okay. This is a consistent theme for our training this week. We're finding new little quirky things that sometimes work and sometimes don't work. This one's not been one that we've had a problem with, but we're going to 2 dots. You get 2 dots there. Sorry. All right, we'll try again. There we go. Much faster this time. Who knows why that happened. But so here you have all of the various notices, and we're into revision 3, and so that is the kind of the main driving notice. But for those who have been working through revision 2, there's the black line version against the revision 3 versus revision 2, so you can easily see what's changed. You'll also see that we've posted the supplemental notices that came out in July, as well as the Fair Housing, Civil Rights, and Relocation notice that has a lot of stuff to do with the RAD. So any kind of RAD-centric or predominantly or very important notices, those will all be posted here under RAD notices, so you can find them quickly. Then we've created what we think is an easier way to actually navigate through the notice itself, basically a table of contents that then the user can come in and get the various sections that they want to see. So you simply plus minus on that section, and the entire text of the note then appears. So it's an easy way for users to get to the sections that they're looking for, and hopefully will make it easier for people to get the information that they need. This is in tandem with, go back to the home page, in tandem with RECAP's desire to force them to look at the notice first when they're looking for guidance. So we've redesigned the search feature. We've created more detailed categories, and then within each of those categories, if you click on one, it will take you directly to a page that has the very first listing or the notice. Where is it referenced in the notice? And when you click on the reference, it pulls that actual reference out for you to see. So you don't have to go to the notice and find it, but the search takes you to the notice first and foremost to say, okay, this is what you need to understand initially. If you want more information, then if something's provided in a document, the document show up, and if there have been questions, those would show up here. In this particular case, there are no specific documents or questions available to the general public. I know that there's some documents available to other users that can see that. So, and then here we can see there are no documents for eligibility, but then there are a series of questions on eligibility. So again, the idea is to try and get to the best answer for the user in a more intuitive fashion. Okay. And again, it works both ways for multifamily as well. The other piece that's going to be happening soon is the abilities for PHAs to actually apply online without sending in the Excel spreadsheet. So that feature is going to be rolled out soon, and when we get that all taken care of, we'll be working with you all and Chad to make sure that that transitions over for your review process. But we hope it's going to be kind of a one-stop shop for everything RAD, so there'll no longer be a need to have an outside process for the RAD applications from the PHAs as well as the reviewers for PIH. Okay. So now we're going to log in, and as we're logging in, one of the things that I want to make you all aware of is we've gone away from multiple user logins. So for many of you in public housing, you all have had to have multiple accounts. So in order for you to be a reviewer or a field office reviewer, you had to have one account. In order for you to be a supervisor, you had to have one account. SMEs had separate accounts. So lots of separate accounts and separate logins that we've now consolidated into one single login. Similarly, for consultants in the world that are helping PHAs, they used to have to have a separate login for every PHA that they were working with, and we've now consolidated that into one login so that they can have kind of one portfolio, if you will. So we're hoping that that will be something that's beneficial to folks, certainly not having to remember multiple passwords. So everybody's screen, every user type has a very similar looking screen. Everyone has this search bar across the top, and all of these cards can be opened and closed by clicking in the far right-hand corner. There's a little button that lets you open and close these. Close the search one. So depending on how you want to set this up, for example, if you know that you're not going to want to search on things and you want to go straight to the transactions that have been assigned to you, you have a card for all of the transactions that have been assigned to you. So we're logged in as a PH reviewer, and their portfolio here consists of these four PHAs. And then when you want each transaction inside PHA, you click on the PHA ID, and that expands this. Then when you click on the name of the PHA, it actually takes you to your public housing screen that allows you to do your work. So this hasn't changed that much for you. You're still going to kind of see the look and feel items, but one of the things that's changed is we've kind of broken things up into cards, so hopefully it's easier to navigate. So as Linda's scrolling down here, and you notice you've got different pieces, and we're scrolling down into the checklist that you're used to seeing, and we keep scrolling down to the bottom. Let's say we want to actually see information about the property at the top. Rather than having to scroll all the way to the top, we've embedded this go-to feature where Linda can just simply click on property. It takes you back to the top, and now you're at the top card with all of the property information available to you right here. We've also provided the ability for you to get to all of the various pages that other people are working on throughout the process. So we've called these transaction pages, and so basically all of this drop-down box are different places that either the PHA is working, or a RAD transaction manager is working, or FHEO is working, or asset management. Depending on different people are working, these are the different pages that they're working in, and you all can go and see what's going on there. So for example, if I want to see what's going on with the financing plan, I can click on the financing plan page, and it will take me to the big long financing plan page. And all of the financing plan documents, as Linda's expanding, this is all, you should be very familiar for those of you that have poked around in here before. This is all the same information. But just like on your page where we have a go-to feature, in this particular case, instead of having to scroll back up to the top and see the property information, Linda can simply hit the go-to, and we're back at the top. Okay. We've also tried to be consistent in these property sections to provide information that we find most users need. Name of the PHA, the property name, the type of conversion, and then very importantly in the middle, the RAD status. So what's going on with this transaction? So in this case, the financing plan has not been submitted. You'll notice the color code. So Linda, let's go back to the home page, and let's open up another one of these, and we can see that that's tied to the status here on your page. You'll also notice that we have another status where the financing plan has been submitted, different color. So what we're hoping is that, and then as Linda's opening these up, we have one that's closed with yet another color. RCC issued, yet another color. So we're hoping that as users get comfortable with kind of the new way of seeing things, their eye will go quickly to, and they'll understand very easily what status each transaction has. Okay. Also on everybody's homepage, we have created a notifications card. So for those of you who are reviewing transactions, you will get an opportunity here to have this pushed information that where you get an email already when documents are uploaded to the resource desk for you to review. There'll be a reminder notification here the first time you log in and something like that has happened. So we're hoping that it'll be not necessarily an enhancement for your workflow, but more of just a reminder. We've heard from a lot of users that they start getting a lot of emails, kind of generic emails from the resource desk, and they don't know exactly, it may have gone into spam, or they deleted it accidentally. This is just another way of reminding you that something has happened since the last time you logged in, and you might want to prioritize looking at that when you go there. Okay, so that's kind of the format of how you get to your transactions that you're working on. I want to spend a couple of minutes and talk about the search box, because this is something that is new to everybody, and we're really excited about it. This will allow all of the public housing users to see all of the transactions that are in RAD. So in the past, you've only been able to see transactions that you were assigned. You could see information on some of them in other reports and things, but to actually see the transaction was something that was a little bit more challenging, and depending on your user level. But now everybody can see what's going on everywhere. So Linda, let's take a look at, let's go with Tennessee for this demonstration today. Let's do Tennessee, and let's take a look at what Knoxville is doing. Button, and now I see all of the Knoxville transactions. So I see that they have a couple that haven't submitted their financing plan. One has a financing plan in for review, one with an RCC issued, and then a whole series of closed transactions. Okay, so this is a nice quick snapshot of what's going on. If you don't know exactly which transaction you're looking for, or you do, you can tailor your search based on different information. So you don't actually need to know anymore what state or what PHA you're working on. So Linda, let's do one. Let's clear the search filters, and let's see. I know that Park is in the name of the transaction. So let's just use Park, and let's do a search. So this is going to pull up every transaction that has Park anywhere in the name. And so it turns out that I was looking for Rudy Park in Elkton, Maryland. I can then click on Rudy Park, and I can see what's going on with this transaction. Okay. We are hopeful that that's going to be something that allows people to find things, first of all, more quickly and get information that they want to get in a more. So let's do that search one more time, Linda, just so we have some results. Park is fine, sure. So once you have the search results, maybe you want to send a list to somebody of all the transactions that have Park in the name. So Linda, if you scroll back to the you want to do some further research and you want to do some slicing and dicing or match it up with some other information that you have, you can export this into Excel and you can take it offline and do whatever you want to do at that point in time. So I think we're hoping that that's going to be really, really helpful for people to use. So we have a question. What was that question?
What if you want to see the transactions for a particular state?
Sure, that's great. So we clear the search filters and we go to Louisiana, staying in the South. There are all the transactions in Louisiana. So right now it's sorted by status. So let's say we want to see all of the transactions in Louisiana, but we want to see it by PHA, then Linda can just hit the button and that will re-sort that by PHA. So we've got now an alphabetical order by PHA name. Okay. An example of how you might want to use this in Excel, say you really were only interested in PBRA transactions in the state of Louisiana, so you would drop this into Excel and you could eliminate all the PBRA transactions, all the PBB transactions very easily, or particular unit size, that sort of thing. So you can get some additional information and filter it out. Okay. So we're hoping again that this will provide additional information for you all, and certainly one of the things that I know as a user, I'm constantly looking for things by property name, where I don't have an idea what the PHA is. It's very helpful for me to look things up. A couple of other things that I wanted to note for you all is that we have the reports that are tied to this. And at the top of the page, if you click on reports, you go ahead and click on reports, you'll get, there are a series of reports that we'll be working with Chad and others to see which are the most commonly used by you as users, and we can anchor 2 or 3 to the top. In this case, we've already selected 2 that we thought people use the most, so you can go directly to those. Or there are a series of other reports that the PIH folks have access to, and here are all the reports that you're used to seeing. So you can get to those very easily here. The idea, again, is to make navigation quick and easy for you as a user. So to the extent that you all want other reports tied to that top report bar, we can certainly do that. And if we need to modify the reports, we can do that as well. Okay. Linda, what else did we want to talk through and show them?
Talk about the change for the reviewers on the way they clear a transaction.
Absolutely. Perfect. So you'll be familiar with the check boxes that you have, and you're familiar with kind of how this works. The first thing that may or may not jump out at you is we've added the ability for you all to be able to delete files. So if you upload something by mistake, or if you don't want to see a long list of documents, you can delete that now directly. Okay. The other thing that we've done is you have to enter a date in the field to clear that for us. So in order to clear, you want to enter the date, and then you want to provide a comment. So in this particular case, the CFFP, OFFP are not applicable, so we don't have to deal with those. But the EPC one, the condition, in order for the condition to be cleared, we need to enter a date and take that off. So, of course, in the example that we pulled, the data was already done. So this should actually be yes until you put the clear date in, correct, Linda? Yeah.
So these will be populated, the conditional chat, CFFP, OFFP, and EPC will be populated when the chat is loaded. You won't be able to edit that any longer, so the way to make that change from a yes to being clear is to enter that date. So it's kind of flipping what we used to do, where we entered yes, you switched it to no, now it's going to stay yes and you enter the date. And we'll pre-populate that for you. We've been given information when we get the chat that can populate that for you going forward.
Yeah, and we're hoping that this will clear some of the confusion and issues that we have had where the condition exists, has been changed, but there's no date, or there's a date and the condition never exists, all that sort of thing. So hopefully this will make things clearer. You'll still be able to write your comments in the right, which will be great. And then I think, Linda, scroll down a little bit further. To the top. No, it's only for Chad and Dan, right? So we've added another feature whereby your all's senior management group will be able to do a quick review and certify that in fact all of the conditions have been cleared and that this transaction is actually ready to close. So we want to make sure that availability is there as well. Okay. While Linda's sitting here on this section, I'll just note that the partial site conversion, the DDA number, the moving to work checkboxes, choice neighborhoods, RHF, DDTF, and existing expanse, those are for information only. You all no longer will need to check those boxes. We have lists for those. It'll all be pre-populated. Certainly, if you see one that is wrong, you will definitely want to raise that to your transaction manager so that we can get that fixed. But they've been left there for that reason only. You're no longer responsible for kind of checking those off and doing that. You'll still need to upload the certification and put the dates in at the top for pick removal and that sort of thing. So nothing really has changed from that process. Looks like we have a question again. Awesome. So we have somebody, so there are 2 reports now that Dan is saying he uses that aren't on the list. So Dan, if you shoot us a note about those, we're happy to do that. Oh, and Chad is reminding us that uploading the approval documents will also be helpful. So if you scroll down, Linda, to the, so making sure that all of the approval documents are uploaded in the grid will also allow for us, which you couldn't do before. That's exactly right. Yeah, you could only upload documents for your risk categories. So now you can upload them all. So thanks for that reminder, Chad. All right. What else did we have?
That's it.
I think that's about it. So a reminder again, the new resource desk is live. Oh yeah, the contacts. You want to, yeah.
We can show them that also, that they can, like Dan right now could click on contact RAD and send us a list of what those reports are. It might be easier.
That's exactly right. So contacting RAD is very easy. So you just click on that, and that shoots us an email to the help desk, and we can take care of things. And then also this new button that I forgot about, we've created kind of a little pocket directory, if you will, where the first page gives a list of all of the contacts at the PHA for this transaction. So the PHA has allowed various access to different people, and you can see that contact list. And then page 2 are all of the HUD staff that are working on this transaction. So you've got the readiness transaction managers and kind of the recap staff, and then you've got other HUD folks. If it's a asset management transaction, you've got the funding specialists and the account executives. If it were in closing, you'd have the closing attorneys, all that sort of stuff. So an easy way for you to look and see for both you and other users to get contacts for the transactions that you're working through. Okay. Just a couple of things to note. The multi-user piece, going to the single login, if you have a PHA that is struggling with something, or they're not able to log in, or you talk to somebody else, please have them contact us directly. We know we've got a list of probably 25 users that we're working closely with that we've got to solve some problems on, but please let us know if you find somebody that needs additional assistance. And similarly for a PHA, if they're struggling, have them contact the resource desk, and we'll reach out to them. I know that Linda's already spent some time with a couple of PHAs over the last couple of days getting them set. So we want everybody to be able to access and get to what they're doing. We don't want to be a bottleneck to anything in the process. Okay. And Linda, what was the question that just came up?
The question is just to show you where the closing documents are. So anything related to this transaction, as Robert mentioned, is on the transaction page menu. So if you go down to the closing, final closing docket, scared me there for a minute, you'll be able to see the closing dockets here. And so there's a couple of menus up there. This one is really the working pages where the groups that are doing that work are logging, and that's where you see all of the uploading of documents. And then if you just need to review, the original CHAP documents are here. If you need to review the rent schedule, that's here. It'll show you what the CHAP was issued as and what it currently is. And then things like the sources and uses in the pro forma that are just going to be PDFs of the data itself. You can get those from the transaction docs data menu.
Yep. Excellent. We're excited. We know that there are going to be some hiccups. We're working through those as quickly as we can. We know that there are going to be things that you like, things that you don't like. One of the things that we ask is that you please give it a chance. Let's use it for a little while. And then over the next month or so, we'll probably start taking some comments about things that may need to be changed here or there, and probably do another session end of October, beginning of November, to kind of talk through any suggested changes to different pieces of this. Because one of the things that we really are striving for with this rollout of the resource desk is much smoother integration between the various offices inside of HUD that are processing transactions. So they're going back and forth between you all and the transaction manager, and you all and the closing coordinators, and making sure that that process is working seamlessly and that everybody knows at every stage where things are. We think that's going to be really helpful and much more powerful in this, because once you have cleared your various pieces, there's a way for your management to certify to that, and then when it gets to the closing table, there are no surprises about something that may or may not have been done or may not have been considered. That's all teed up in the front. There's another question. Looks like Linda. There's no MTW. At this point in time, we don't have an MTW search feature, but we certainly could consider adding that somewhere. That's a good point, particularly with the MTW numbers expanding by 100 the next couple of years, or however long that's going to take. So we do have the checkbox, but I don't think we have. So here's a report that has the projects that are in MTW agencies. So maybe that gets you what you want.
It'll take a minute, but that's good.
Yeah, so here are all the transactions for the moving to work agencies. So there you go. So it's not a filter, but it is a report. Thank you, Linda. Good. That's all I had. So thank you all very much for participating. This session's been recorded, so we'll post it to the resource desk so that those that weren't able to call in can listen to it later. And we look forward to hearing your comments over the next few weeks as you start using the resource desk. So thanks a lot, and have a good rest of your day.